Good evening and welcome to another edition of your weekly program of Tonga This Week with Television Tonga News. This is a weekly program where we highlight some of the major news stories throughout the week. Making headlines, the royal christening of the King VI grandchild, who is second in line to the throne, conducted last Sunday. Her Majesty Queen Naspau launched the Kawako Heka program 2013, and the Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivanoa reaffirms that aviation safety is Tonga's priority. There will also be other news later on in this bulletin. Now for the details, I'm Kalolaine Tonglava. The christening of the young Prince Taufa'ahau Manmataongo was conducted during the Sunday service at the Centenary Church in Nuku'alofa last weekend. The young prince is the heir to the throne's Crown Prince Tupotoa and Crown Princess Sinai Takala's firstborn.
Members of the Free Wesleyan Church and guests joined Their Majesties King VI and Queen Anaspau, the Queen Mother Halaiwal Mata'aho, and members of the royal family in witnessing the royal baptism of Prince Taufa'ahau Manmataongo in Nuku'alofa at the Centenary Church. The royal ritual was led by the Royal Chaplain and President of the Free Wesleyan Church of Tonga, Reverend Dr. Ahio. Prince Taufa'ahau Manmataongo, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We now welcome him to the Church of Christ and teach him the Christian life and belief. The Royal Chaplain and President of the Church also pass on to the Prince's mother the people and the Church's wishes and vision in regards to the future of the Prince. Take and keep him for God's will to his role to the people of his nation in the future. Also attending the program were Princess Bilolev Tuita, Princess Iulikta Pukalaniwal Fotofili, Princess Ofeina Elangifafanua, His Serene Highness Prince Tungi, members of the royal family, the Honourable Prime Minister, nobles of the realm, church leaders and other guests. The ceremony was followed by a royal luncheon. Prince Taufa'ahau Manmataongo was born this year on May 10th at the Auckland Hospital in New Zealand.
Her Majesty Queen Naspau has officially launched the Kawako Heka program 2013 this week. She also launched the first report on Tonga's traditional roadmap and cultural policy presented by the Honourable Minister for Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya.
The Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya, presented the first report on Tonga's traditional roadmap and culture's policy to the guest of honour, Her Majesty Queen Naspau, at the official launch of the Kawako Heka 2013 program. In the speech from Her Majesty, she emphasized the importance of our tradition and culture and its meaning. It's the responsibility of our people, all men and women, to preserve and protect our tradition and culture, which is a very important asset of our country. The Kawako Heka program is implemented by the Ministry of Internal Affairs. In the welcome speech from the Internal Affairs Director, Lord Betty Sentuli, he spoke more about the program. The main objective of the Kawako Heka program is to display the beauty of our tradition and culture, such as Tongan dancing. The theme for the Kawako Heka 2013 is Bond Together in Unity. The kafa refers to a strong rope in Tongan, which bounds or ties things together to make it stronger. This morning's event was also attended by the Minister of Education and Training, Diplomatic Corps, and many guests. This is the third time the Kawako Heka program has been held since it began in 2009. Anasiu Falekaano for Television Tonga News.
The Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivanoa, in a statement from the Prime Minister's office, stated that aviation safety in the kingdom is the country's priority. This comes amid concerns raised by foreign media and locals in regards to the MA-60 gifted from China to Tonga. We're joined for Whainga'a with that story.
The Honourable Prime Minister stated that necessary measures are taken with appropriate technical support to ensure that compliance before any certification of the new aircraft is provided. He says the premature concerns expressed by the Government of New Zealand has fed unfortunate series of superficial media reports that will only hurt Tonga to the extent. In the meantime, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister Sami Waipulu told Radio and Television Tonga News that the information released by New Zealand to media are nonsense. Waipulu says both New Zealand and the Tongan government have signed to the worthiness of all Chinese aircraft last year. Both the Prime Minister, Lord Tuvarano, and his deputy, Sami Waipulu, confirmed the safety and worthiness of the MA60 to operate domestically. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
A Tonga college student is in a critical condition in Vala Hospital after surviving an attack by students from Tupo College. The attack targeted a home that Tonga college students occupied in Tofoa. Also, another Tonga college student sustains major injuries as well and is currently at Vala Hospital as well. We'll join Fatai Whaingaa again with that story.
The Tonga college student, believed to be in a critical condition, is currently reviving in hospital. Another student from the same school suffers major injuries as well. Speaking to media in regards of the incident, the Deputy Police Commissioner, Unga Fa'awa, named the attack a serious crime. The incident has been referred to the magistrate court. However, they will remain under the police custody until Monday next week. This is because the crimes committed is very serious. Meanwhile, the Police Commissioner Grant Office says this has been ongoing for years now and should be addressed nationally.
People of Tonga shouldn't look to the police to solve this issue. This is not a police issue. This is a Tongan issue. This is everybody's issue. It's an issue for the schools, it's an issue for the police, it's an issue for everybody, the parents. And we've now reached a point where we've got an individual critically injured in hospital because of rivalry between schools, and this isn't a game anymore. This is really very, very serious. So if people are thinking this is a problem the police can solve, they're wrong. This is a much bigger issue than something that the police can solve.
In the meantime, information from the Viola Hospital confirmed to Radio and Television Tonga News that other Tupo College students also suffered minor injuries, but they have been given medical treatment. The Deputy Police Commissioner says that police first received a report from Tupo College around 9 in the evening in regards of students missing from the compound. The Deputy Police Commissioner adds that police responded and patrolled to different areas in Tongatapo, including Tonga College compound. However, all the areas were cleared of anyone, but later received the report from the attack in Tofoa.
The Tokaikolo Church has split apart, where some former church members have formed a new congregation known as the Whianga Mo'uifo'oia Kalaisi and is led by the former Secretary General of the Tokaikolo Church, Reverend Sione Havili Maile. Let's take a look. The new spiritual gathering, Whianga Mo'uifo'oia Kalaisi, is being led by the former Secretary General of the Tokaikolo Church, Reverend Sione Havili Maile. This was revealed from T News in New Zealand. According to information from Reverend Sione Maile, they left the church on July 7th, where they wanted to return back the church to its initial purpose when the church was first established in 1982, basically involving the call from the Lord. I believe that he does not accept that this is God's will. Firstly, to leave God, like from the past, there's a need to take the hands of everyone who interferes with the church operations. They're supporting each other with Liu Fao. According to the book of Isaiah 59, my legs are not sure to carry out miracles, nor does my face. However, all your sins becomes an ocean of sadness, which disabled me from hearing your request. It was also revealed during the exclusive interview of Reverend Maile on T News the ways these sins were carried out, including the debts of the church to many architectural companies, which is estimated at more than 1 million pa'anga. He told T News they are not certain over this, as he already knew that the president of the church had not used the funds. The Lord is the leader, and he manages things, and his message to me was to prepare for this. The only thing that I did not want to leave the church as they did not want the church members to carry the burden of paying back the church debts. One of Reverend Maile's vision is to return back this newly established congregation to the idea of committing the members to the church by having no obligations, however, only to focus on praising God. He added that he does not want any followers who has not reaffirmed his or her spirit. Reverend Maile also spoke of the church at Hateho is the result of his own work, with no help from the Tokaikolo Church. He also pledged to register the church under this new congregation. Television Tonga News has made contacts to the office of the Tokaikolo Church for any further comments regarding the splitting of the church, and no one was available. The Tonga Fire Services have recorded 2 house fires in the Nuku'alofa district on Thursday this week. The first house fire reported was the Manglo Kindergarten in Golfo'o, and the second fire was reported on the same morning was a home in Papua. The Tonga Fire Services also recorded a total of 10 fires, which included 4 house fires and many bush fires. Here's Linda Filiai with more on that story.
A house used many years as kindergarten in Golfo'o has been destroyed by fire. Manglo Kindergarten went up in flames. Fortunately, no lives were lost, but none of the belongings from the kindergarten were able to saved. The estimated cost for the damages is more than 200,000 per anga. Another house fire was reported to a home in Papua as well. The fire commander Sinamonika Waka says they received a call of the fire at Manglo Kindergarten at 20 minutes past 8. We could see the smoke from the fire rising into the air from our office. When we arrived at the scene, the house was already engulfed by fire. The house was used as a kindergarten. The fire commander also says they're concerned over the number of fires reported. Since the beginning of this week up to now, we have recorded up to 10 different fires. 4 of these fires are house fires and the rest are bush fires. He wants the public to be careful to minimize the risk of fires at home. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The families of the victim, found dead from a house fire in Halaleva earlier this month, have said their final goodbyes to the 19-year-old young man during his wake, which was held on Friday. This comes after his body was identified after conducting the post-mortem before it was released to families. The results of the post-mortem confirmed that the deceased was Edley Hawk of Halaleva, and he died from the house fire that gutted a home in Halaleva. Meanwhile, the results from the inquest were carried out to the human bones discovered in Veitongo. However, the outcome of the post-mortem failed to identify the deceased. Meanwhile, further DNA tests for the human remains will be conducted in New Zealand. Speaking to Television Tonga News, the Deputy Police Commissioner Onga Fa'awa says the result given from the jurors who presided during the inquest stated that the deceased took his own life. The Cabinet has approved to allow the harvest of sea cucumbers in Tongan waters for a 3-month period. The harvest of sea cucumber opened last Friday until October. The harvest season has been closed since March this year due to a diminishing supply. We're joined Sin Latu with more on that report.
The decision to allow the harvest of sea cucumber was based on a request from the Tonga National Fisheries Council. It's also believed that the supply of sea cucumber is stable state. One cabinet minister, who's also the Minister of Police, Fire Services, Prisons and Inland Revenue, Sosifatu Tafaiva, told Television Tonga News the request was given top priority. Priority was given to this request made by a lot of local fishermen as it serves as a main source of income for them. Furthermore, the supply of sea cucumber is stable, that's why a 3-month period is given. The president of the Tonga Sea Cucumber Association, Aleki Mataile, who's also a member of the Tonga National Fisheries, says the fisheries industry helps boost the country's economy.
On the 12th of July, the Cabinet, Prime Minister's Cabinet, also the Minister of Fisheries, Singsta Saulala, have worked together with the people of Tonga to help trying to build up the infrastructure of Tonga's economy. And so the Tongan people asked on the fisheries department side if the minister could help to ask the Prime Minister's Cabinet if they could be allowed to open up so that they may be able to provide a living for their families. And so which I'm grateful and I'm thankful for the Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture, Singstar Saulala, and also the Prime Minister and his cabinet for allowing this to come true.
Mr. Matali also confirmed that the supply of sea cucumber is in a stable condition. To date, the Tonga National Fisheries and the Fisheries Ministry will review license applications to harvest sea cucumber. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sin Latu.
The Minister of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, Dr. William Latu, represented Tonga at the 2013 Foreign Trade Ministers meeting in Apia, which was held this week. The two-day annual ministerial meeting serves as a platform for participants to discuss key trade-related issues which affect the region. Let's take a look. Information from the Foreign Media Office states that the Foreign Trade Ministers meeting is an opportunity for trade ministers to discuss collectively and make firm commitments towards advancing priority trade matters which affects the kingdom. This year, the trade officials and ministers will be discussing members' engagement in the WTO multilateral trade issues, progress in the negotiations of the regional trade agreements, including the Pacific Agreement on Closer Economic Relations, PESA+. It would also review of the Pacific Aid for Trade Strategy, intellectual property rights and traditional knowledge issues, trade and health linkages, among other trade-related work programs in the region. Trade officials and ministers will also consider the work undertaken by the Pacific Islands Trade and Invest (PTNI) network of offices to promote the Pacific Islands exports and inward investment and tourism promotion. The Pacific Islands Trade and Invest (PTNI) network have branches in Auckland, Beijing, Geneva, Sydney, and Tokyo. An updated mandate to progress work on regional trade priorities is expected to be agreed to by the Foreign Trade Ministers. The outcome of the Foreign Trade Ministers meeting will highlight key regional trade-related issues for foreign leaders' consideration at their meeting in September 2013 in Republic of the Marshall Islands. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, Tataf Moyaki, is also in Apia to participate in the trade officials meeting before the ministerial summit. A number of differences were expressed between Tongatapu's People Representative No. 3, Dr. Stephen Halapua, and his Fasmoyafi constituency over government's aid money in a parliamentary visit. Fatai Fainga'a sat in on the meeting and gives you this report.
Issues relating to government's aid money of more than 100,000 pa'anga to develop electoral constituencies each fiscal year. Most of the members in the gathering said they have not witnessed any development or received information regarding to the aid money since 2011 when the aid was first implemented by the government. Although the MP and his constituency agreed the aid money should be used to meet their needs, they had different opinions on how it should be distributed. The residents called for the aid to go towards road maintenance, including the Tungi Road, where the Tonga Broadcasting Commission is located, among other development work. However, Dr. Alapua believes the money should first help those who are in dire need rather than allocated among all villages in a constituency, as it won't be enough to fulfill each need. The meeting then agreed to select members to establish a committee which will manage the aid money. Other issues raised in this meeting includes concern over the increase in the number of crimes in the area, school dropouts, and a request to tighten the law on the purchase of alcohol. Fasimoyafi has 599 registered voters with 20 participants attending last night's parliamentary visit. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Fainga'a.
The Chinese government has presented 300 live ducks to the Tongan government for commercial purpose, especially for Asian people residing in Nuku'alofa.
The manager of the Agrotech Cooperation Project, Mr. Shen Bo, handed over the donation to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Forestry and Fisheries as the second phase of the cooperation project between the two governments. The Honourable Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya, represented the government of Tonga in accepting the donation from the Chinese government. Also attending the handover program was the Honourable Minister for Agriculture, Singstar Saulala.
During the handover ceremony, Lord Vaya said it's a crucial project that would help reduce the number of imported meat and boost the healthy lifestyle of the local people. This is one of our major concerns, that the meat and food eaten by the people are safe and healthy for consuming purpose, as we want to bring down the number of people with diabetes. Meanwhile, the Minister of Agriculture, Food, Forestry and Fisheries, Honorable Sengsta Saulala, said it is one of the most successful projects in the region. The farming of ducks here in Waini is the best farming of ducks in the Pacific. According to the report from Australia, New Zealand and the World Bank, Tonga is currently on the top list for such programs. The third phase of the project is to be started on October this year. Whanonga Vekoso for Television Tonga News.
A parliamentary visit made to Kolonga villages in the Eastern District has revealed a number of concerns for trade export, welfare benefits and education, to name a few. One Kolonga resident asked Tonga Tapu People's Representative Number 10, Semis Tapueluelu, to re-establish the government's Commodities Board. He complained that exporters are getting richer while the farmers have no benefit. He believes a commodity board will help intervene and ensure farmers also benefit from the export and trade of their produce. I would like to see the re-establishment of the Commodities Board. I don't know why it was dissolved. I'm also concerned for the youth and the increase in offences by youth due to unemployment. I grew up and followed my father in growing the copra and banana for export. I witnessed a positive effect of the board. I wish the government could review this issue so that Tonga could live in harmony. Other issues raised in the visit include the support for community patrol officers, among other issues. I'm more concerned over school delinquency. I'd like to see government and relevant authorities enforcing compulsory education for children. I have spoken with many parents who are unemployed, and an average of 2 children in every family do not go to school for up to a month due to financial challenges. However, the People's Representative says it's the responsibility of parents to ensure their children go to school. It's a hard job, and it's the parents' duties to make sure that their children are in school and behave themselves. We have to look for a way, as we cannot wait until they see the side effect of that. Concerns over the standards of the roads were also raised in the visit. We would like government assistance in the maintenance of road and also provide streetlights. Our children in Class 6 are taking night classes until 9 at night, and some of them walk home after classes with the teacher. We would like to see some streetlights up on our main roads. Concern was also raised to lower the age of people who can be included in the elderly benefit scheme from 75 to 70 years old. In the meeting, Mr. Tapueluelu clarified that Kolonga is included in the 1.2 million Paanga project of the Ministry of Environment from the construction of a foreshore from Nukuleka to Kolonga. In another issue, some of the fishermen asked for government assistance for their fishing boats, which was provided previously but has now been on hold since 2010. There were 10 people in the parliamentary visit out of 518 registered voters from Kolonga. The people of Waini during their parliamentary visit this week approved to fund a diesel engine with pump for water supply of block number 2. This is where the government primary school located. A 22,000 baanga will be for the engine and pump out of the total of 48,000 baanga assistance fund from government to the village. Fadai Whaingaa has this story.
The meeting mainly focused on how the fund will be spent. Also, a long debate regarding the roads and water supply was also discussed. The villages also conducted a ballot to approve the assistance for water supply, as they were concerned over the schools, as it will have to close temporarily due to no water supply. However, the village committee will distribute the leftover 26,000 paanga to other 8 water supplies in Waini. There were also other issues raised in last night's meeting. The technical students to be funded by the village as they continue on furthering their studies. This is due to the benefits they bring for the communities, including the remittances they sent back to their families. I support the idea of having community patrol officers to serve in a village. We need to protect our properties, families and belongings at home, especially when we're away from home. These people also work at night and will make us feel secure when they perform their duties. Meanwhile, the People's Representative responded to issues raised. I'm pleased with the initiative raised during the meeting and hope that we will work together, since the patrol officers have set up in the village and we feel that assistance should be provided. But I think government to have assistance also. I will be looking for support from overseas donors to fund the operations of patrol officers. Also raised during the meeting was a demand for a tractor for farmers. Despite that, the number of people who attended last night's meeting was more than 100 villagers. However, that does not account to 10% of the total registered voters in Maini, which is 12,000 voters. 5 villages are registered under Tonga Tapu constituency, 8 including the Tonga, Maini, Malapo, Folaha and Longotembe.
There should be a special budget allocated for the transportation expenses of students. The issue was raised by residents of Tonga Tapu Constituency 6 in Hakame during the parliamentary visit during the week of their Member Parliament to the House, Sifatu Tafaiva. We're joined for Daifenga again with that details.
The Tonga Tapu Constituency number 6 told the gathering this issue topped the priority needs of the villages under Tonga Tapu number 6. He says most residents stresses that the means of transportation is very costly, especially students from the central villages of Tonga Tapu that have to travel to Nuku'alofa for education. This meeting was attended by 36 residents, including both men and women. Majority of them raised the same issue, saying they've faced financial difficulties due to the economic downturn, plus the ongoing hike in oil prices and bus fares. The MP told the gathering all issues of concern will be submitted to the House as soon as deliberations resumes. The issue was raised after the government allocated a special budget for students' transportation, but was later diverted to help increase wages of the church's school teachers after a proposal from the People's Representative of Tonga Tapu number 3 to the Legislative Assembly, Dr. Stephen Ihalapua. However, other concerns were raised over needs to set up street lights in the village to reduce crimes. Another resident raised the importance of fixing roads to the bush allotment, as farming is the main source of revenue for the people of Hakame. While one resident was concerned over the deliberations in the House, saying that the parliamentarians should prioritize important issues to be discussed rather than taking up most of their times on discussing matters that does concern the public's interest, such as the vote of no confidence bill. The registered voters of Hakame are totaled at 258.
And the HMNZS Wellington of New Zealand's Navy, currently anchored at the Vuna Wharf in its first ever goodwill visit to Nuku'alofa. We'll join Anasil Falekaono with that story.
The offshore patrol vessel arrived in Nuku'alofa last Wednesday with 61 personnel on board, including crew members of the vessel and Navy officers of New Zealand Defence Force. Speaking to Television Tonga News, Lieutenant Commander Brisbane Lokotui of Tonga Defence Force says Tonga's port is popular to New Zealand's Navy crew. HMNZS Wellington travel to Tonga is part of its route to New Zealand after a visit to the Solomon Islands. While in the kingdom, the Captain Lieutenant Commander Phil Rowe met the commander of Tonga's Defence Force, Brigadier General Tawaika Ota'atu.
And that wraps up another edition of Tonga This Week with Television Tonga News. For more on these stories, you can call us directly on 23556 or 28812. Or you can check out our website at www.tonga-broadcasting.net or our Facebook page on Radio Television Tonga. Thanks for watching. I'm Galolaine Tonglava. Have a pleasant evening.